Well, let's go ahead and get started. So hello, everyone, and thank you all for joining our 2020 holiday webinar. My name is Steve Ricard. I'm a customer support manager for Tribe Alpha, and I'll be your MC for today's event. All the speakers you will hear from today are experts in e-commerce and some of the industry's top companies. But above all, they just want to help merchants like yourselves be as successful as you can. 2020 has been filled with challenges, and we're here to share some simple tips to help you through what's already shaping up to be a record-breaking season for online shopping. If at any point you have questions, please feel free to use the Q&A feature in Zoom to send us your questions. At the end of the webinar, we'll attempt to answer as many of those questions as time allows. If we're unable to get to all of the questions, we will follow up after the webinar via email. So we know you're all busy right now, so I won't waste any more time. We have a bunch of great information to share with you. So let's start by having our experts introduce themselves. Jessica, let's start with you.
Awesome, thank you. Hey everyone, I'm Jessica Schanzer. I am a product marketing manager at BigCommerce. BigCommerce is a SaaS e-commerce platform for both small and large businesses. And in my role, I focus on go-to-market strategies for omni-channel, so all the places merchants sell outside of BigCommerce, as well as storefront design. Outside of work, I volunteer with a nonprofit called Out in Tech. And you can also find me hanging out with my lizard named Charlie, who's pictured here, playing video games. I'm currently working through Assassin's Creed Valhalla, and also eating barbecue around Austin, Texas, which is where I'm based.
Hello, everybody. My name is Gary Clift. I'm the CEO of Tribe Alpha, an e-commerce agency based in Denver, Colorado. We build new and support existing e-commerce sites, and we have clients in many industries and verticals, but we do focus on the outdoor industry. We're technology agnostic, but we really like working with BigCommerce. We also work with Magento and WordPress as well. Personally, I have a passion for software engineering. I started programming in the 80s. I found the internet in the mid-90s. Started building e-commerce sites in the early 2000s. Outside of work, I really enjoy spending time with my family and getting outside. I love to mountain bike, snowboard, paddleboard, trail run, anything that gets me outside. SJ?
Thanks, Gary. Hi, everyone. My name is SJ Pederuti. I am a principal go-to-market strategist at Salsify. Salsify offers a commerce experience management platform that is built to help brands like yourselves win on the digital shelf. As a go-to-market strategist, my role is to advise brands on how they can leverage emerging technologies, particularly for marketplace and direct-to-consumer selling. Prior to joining Salsify, I was working as a vice president of marketing at Syndigo. And prior to that, I was vice president of marketing at an enhanced content company called SellPoints. Outside of working in retail software, I enjoy volunteering as a high school football coach, as well as a volunteer with the Little Brothers Friends of the Elderly. When I'm not doing those things, you can usually find me either hanging out with my cats or watching Red Sox games, sometimes doing both at the same time.
Great, thanks everyone. So without further ado, let's get into it. To kick things off, let's go back to Jessica from BigCommerce, who has some great predictions and insights to share with you all.
Awesome. So ever since the pandemic made its way to the US, e-commerce sales have skyrocketed. So BigCommerce merchants actually experienced record-breaking sales during Cyber Week. And that's the period from Thanksgiving through Cyber Monday. We performed a platform-level analysis earlier this week and found that our merchant base saw a whopping 74% year-over-year increase in GMV. We also saw a nearly 80% increase in mobile sales. So the TLDR here is that online sales are booming across industries and throughout the e-com platform market. So outside of BigCommerce merchants, we're also seeing this trending with other platforms. And with Christmas rapidly approaching, now is the time to capitalize on the trend of consumers getting more comfortable spending their extra cash. Next slide, please. And with the exploding growth of e-commerce and more consumers spending time on their couches and online, social commerce is also playing a major role in converting holiday shoppers. A recent Salesforce study found that 37% of US adults are more interested in mobile app shopping than last year, and 22% feel the same way about social commerce. We're going to talk more about the impact of social commerce in the next few slides, but incorporating a solid social strategy for e-commerce is becoming crucial for creating the experience your customers are now increasingly expecting. And now we're going to get into some actionable tips as we move into the second half of the 2020 holiday season. So on this next slide, here are the 3 tips, going to go into more detail in the next few minutes. So 1, reminding your customers to buy with cart abandonment notifications. 2, optimizing your checkout process by simplifying checkout to one page. And also for you to plan on using new social tactics you maybe haven't tried going into the new year. So there are many reasons a customer might leave your website with a shopping cart full of items. Reminding customers to buy is critical during the busy shopping season. If you have an app, sending them a push notification will remind them of the products they left behind with a goal of convincing them to make a purchase. These notifications actually have double and sometimes triple the click-through rate of a targeted email. So app notifications are the way to go if you have a mobile app. Now, if you're using email, like many merchants are, reminding your customers that they've left highly rated products in their shopping cart is a really, really great way to boost your open rates. You can actually use the star rating of the highest rated product in your cart in your subject line. So something like, there are 5-star products left in your cart, don't waste any more time. And this will give your open rates a nice boost. And so optimizing the checkout experience. So by the time a customer reaches the checkout page, obviously they've decided that they want to make a purchase. So optimizing this page means that the process is as smooth as possible so a customer doesn't leave before they buy. And one really easy way to do this is by simplifying checkout to one page. BigCommerce's default is actually one-page checkout. I've taken a quick little test store GIF here, and it kind of shows you how everything is consolidated in one smooth page. Loading a single page versus waiting for multiple pages to load, especially on mobile, can be a game changer. So don't give customers any time to leave your site. A second tip for optimizing checkout, this is really easy, enabling guest checkout. So online shopping requires trust in a merchant, and many customers don't feel comfortable saving their contact or payment information during their initial visit to a store. Anonymous checkouts are especially important for landing your first-time customers ahead of the holidays. And on this next slide, so considering new social tactics. Now, obviously, implementing something that you've never tried before Christmas, that's not what I'm advising. It's just thinking about new things that you haven't tried before going into 2021, because COVID is here to stay for the foreseeable future. And with the rise of mobile and social, it's going to be super important that you try new tactics going into the new year. So specifically, I'd like to highlight one awesome new social commerce feature that's now widely available to US merchants, which is checkout on Instagram. So more and more people are turning to Instagram for product research and discovery. And now with checkout, consumers can complete their purchase seamlessly and securely right on Instagram. On top of that, Facebook has actually made some incredibly impactful changes for commerce in just the last 6 months. So ads are now connected to product tag posts, which allows people to buy directly from your targeted ads. And SJ is actually going to be talking more about this and how to optimize your ads in the following slides. Facebook has also recently replaced their activity tab on the bottom bar with a new Instagram shopping tab, which I've highlighted here in this image. So this puts shopping on Instagram to the front of the UI once someone logs into Instagram. If you haven't already seen it, the new shop tab includes the ability for people to discover products from brands and creators, browse a collection of products based on what they've been searching, which is really cool and scary. I've had some insanely targeted things serviced to me that I've been very tempted to buy. And then also purchase items all in one place if you have checkout enabled. So now I'm gonna hand it off to Gary, who's actually gonna go a little deeper into the value of checkout on Instagram.
Thank you, Jessica. Those are awesome tips, and those are a perfect segue. Thank you so much. Yes, as Jessica said, I'm going to dig a little deeper into shopping on Instagram. As Jessica mentioned, they've added the ability to shop in Instagram right in the app without ever having to leave. And all it takes is 2 taps. I showed this to my brother-in-law yesterday, and he just said, wow, that's scary. I'm going to buy a lot of things. And it's true. It's really easy to buy in the Instagram app. What you do is you actually, as a consumer, you set up your checkout information once. And then after that, it's just 2 taps. You click Buy Now, then you click, tap Purchase. If you use BigCommerce as your e-commerce platform, it's pretty easy to set up. And once set up, you can manage the catalog in BigCommerce and then tag those products inside of your Instagram posts. When a user completes a purchase in Instagram, you're going to see it in your BigCommerce orders 30 minutes after a customer cancellation period. So it's really easy to manage your products in BigCommerce and then see those orders come back through in BigCommerce. And I know Salsify also has some similar capabilities. And as a matter of fact, they have some really powerful tools to instrument different attributes that go to different platforms, so you can actually target different content to the Instagram feed. The Facebook selling fee is 5% per shipment, and this Facebook fee will cover the actual payment processing, which is going to be between 2 and 3% on any payment processor. And then it also helps pay for this tool inside of Instagram. If you compare this 5% to the Google or Apple stores, the 30% there, this is actually incredibly cheap. And for the rest of 2020, Facebook has actually waived this fee, so you're not getting charged any fees for the remainder of the month. So let's take a look at why this matters to brands. We'll look at the customer journey to kind of help us understand why it's so important. So the first step in a customer journey with your product or service is the awareness step. This is when a customer becomes aware of what you are selling. And then once they become aware of it, they'll start to research it to make sure that that product or service fits their needs. Once they're ready to buy, they go to the purchase step. This is actually the hardest step in the customer journey, but we're going to get back to that in a minute. And then once a customer has your product or has used your service, you can enhance that product with additional information, services, videos. And then the 5th step in the customer journey is to become an advocate for your brand or product. So they actually start to make other customers aware of your product. So that's the full simplified customer journey. Let's go back to that step 3, that purchase step. Actually, I skipped ahead there. Sorry. Steps 1 and 2 are perfect for Instagram because Instagram is a visual first platform. And when you post on Instagram, you obviously have an image and a small caption, and that helps customers become aware of your product or service. And it also helps them do some quick research. And then we get to that purchase step. With those 2 taps, click Buy Now and then click Purchase. That's all they have to do. If you're familiar with Instagram right now, or previous to checkout on Instagram, they had a view on website feature, and it would send the customer to the product detail page. Oops, sorry, my Zoom just quit. It would send them to the product detail page, and they'd have to go through the high effort checkout process. And now with this new feature, it's really easy for them just to do the 2 taps. That's it. A user can go from step 1 of the customer journey to step 3 in minutes, if not seconds. So if your company uses Instagram, take a little bit of time and add the checkout on Instagram feature and start tagging posts with those products. So next, I want to actually go and look at the new PayPal Pay in 4. With this new feature by PayPal, you can buy now and kind of pay later. And how it works is you pay 25% of the cart value now, the cart total now, and then every 2 weeks you pay another 25% for 6 weeks. This is available for carts that total between $30 and $600, and there's no fees or hidden costs to the consumer. And there's also no additional cost to the merchant outside of the PayPal transaction fee. And the merchant receives 100% of the cart value right up front, so you don't have to wait for that 6 weeks to get your full payments from PayPal. And this option already exists for PayPal merchants. If you use PayPal and you have the Pay Later button enabled, it will send the customer to the PayPal checkout, and they can choose this Pay in 4 option. It's really powerful. Next slide, please. So PayPal did a survey, And businesses with the pay over time messaging on their site saw a 56% increase in the PayPal average order value. So let's say you own a ski resort and you have a day pass for $50 and you have a multi-pack for $185. You can use the pay in for now, and I can pay $46 and change right now and not have to pay another fee for 2 weeks and actually get more now and pay less now. And so I'm going to use that new option. This is actually over 300% increase in the order value for that order. So it's a really powerful feature to allow customers to buy more now and then use that pay later option. So those are 2 ways that you can start to boost orders today or tomorrow with your current e-commerce store. With that, I'm going to turn it over to SJ.
Thanks, Gary. So Jessica and Gary both walked you through some of the new features that really allow you to optimize conversions through the Instagram social commerce experience. And over the last 6 months, Facebook has made a number of critical improvements to their platform to really take it from being a platform that was dedicated more towards visual advertising to a platform that's really dedicated now towards social commerce. But what I want to talk about next isn't how you necessarily optimize the checkout experience once you've gotten somebody to your actual product pages on Instagram, but how are you attracting new audience members to these pages? There are millions and millions of people on Facebook and on Instagram, and even the best social commerce profiles for brands only have a small fraction of that audience actually following their profiles. So the first tactic I want to talk about really leveraging the network and growing your audience is using influencers properly. You could talk to different types of consultants that will advise you on whether or not they think influencers are a worthwhile investment. I work with a lot of brands across all different types of industries. And in general, I do think that there is value of influencers if you're using them properly. And the first thing when I say use them properly is that you need to rethink attribution. Most influencers are getting paid and they're taking credit for driving sales to your site by driving traffic to a third-party website. Now that's the exact opposite of what Gary was just talking about. The beauty of checkout on Instagram is that the entire purchase is happening on the Instagram platform. So driving traffic off to a third-party landing page, even if it's your own branded website hosted on BigCommerce, it's not going to do you the good of actually leveraging the unification of checkout on Instagram. You need to find another way of attributing new sales and traffic being driven from your influencers that doesn't depend on a third-party cookie traffic website. The second thing is to enforce product tagging with your influencers. Influencers are great at creating content, but they need to be taught, it doesn't come as first instinct to them, to actually leverage your product catalog so that they can tag products on those posts that they are creating. To do this, you actually need to give your influencers access to your product catalog. This is a simple step that can be done on Instagram, but I'm always surprised at how many brands actually haven't taken that step with their influencers. So go into your Instagram profile, look up your product catalog, and then add your influencers, those individuals, so that they can access the product catalog. Once the influencers have that product catalog, then you need to make sure that they are only tagging products that are featured in the posts they're creating. It doesn't do anybody any good if the influencers are tagging 20 or 50 different types of products that aren't even featured on the post. There's a visual association that obviously has to happen here. This isn't just about driving attribution for the influencer. This is about giving the best consumer experience to your customers. So make sure that they are tagging products properly and they have access to those products. And the last thing I like to remind brands about when they're taking advantage of an influencer network is don't overcommit to this. Don't over rely on this. This is an arrow in your quiver, but it is not the entire set of tools that you have to grow your audience. Influencers can definitely help get you there, but the next piece that you really need to be thinking about when it comes to leveraging the Instagram network, Steve, if you'd be so kind to advance us to the next slide, is actually making sure that you are properly promoting your tagged posts. Promoting your posts is a new thing now that Instagram has offered in the last, I'd say 3 to 6 months, depending on where you were on the adoption curve and what type of industry you were in. But as Jessica mentioned earlier, you're now able to actually link dynamic ads to tagged product posts. This was something that wasn't available before on Instagram. You could either have a post that had a tagged product on it, or you could have a post that was either boosted or being used for dynamic audience targeting to get that post outside of your followers. You could not do both. Now you can. And this has been a huge new benefit on the Instagram platform. You now have the ability to tag a post and then actually purchase an audience based on the type of audience you want to attract who's not already following your brand, so that they see that tag post. That means new audience members are actually looking at your products in that post and then can click through the checkout on Instagram experience to purchase that product. It's very simple. And as Gary said, this conversion can happen in seconds. We're talking seconds for a new audience member to discover one of your products, learn about it, and create and complete the transaction. Make sure that if you are going to invest in checkout on Instagram, and I tell this to every one of our brands, you're only going to see a real positive ROI if you're actually boosting that with a dynamic ad budget. So make sure that you're planning on committing to that type of a budget so that you can really take advantage of all that Instagram has to offer, both the transaction capabilities now, the visual medium that it is, and the enormous reach that it has to so many new audience members who may not already be following you. The conversion rates for Instagram, the conversion rates on Facebook, the conversion rates really anywhere are low. We're talking less than 1% of the total audience you're expanding to. So just think about how many more conversions you can be driving if you're actually promoting outside of the network of people who are already following your Instagram profile. It can be significant. And it can be even better if you look at the third point here, if you're optimizing ad personalization with enhanced catalogs. Now, what are enhanced catalogs? This is actually an internal term that Facebook and Instagram are using for this new feature. They don't even have an external marketing term for it yet. So I'm just gonna borrow this term and apply it to what I'm talking about here. Enhanced catalogs is really achieving two different things. One, it is attempting to establish a set of standardized standardized attributes for different types of product categories based on Google's product catalog. So when you have a product like a shirt that you want to advertise for on Google, you can actually select apparel and shirt as the category for the product that you want to advertise. Once you've made that category selection, a preset list of attributes will appear for that category. Because if I'm selling a shirt, I obviously need to have different sizes for that shirt. But that type of attribute really doesn't apply when I'm talking about, I don't know, a water bottle. So now Facebook is offering that same type of category level attribution. What this means is that they're using the exact same category system as Google, and they are now offering you as a brand the ability to select a category for the type of product you're trying to advertise for, and then be able to fill out a new set of customized attributes for that category. This does two things. This allows for much better filtering and organization of your products by type, such as color and size and gender. And most importantly, it allows you to start to really target the specific audience that you want to see that product. So if you want to advertise big and tall shirts for large men on Facebook, you can now actually do that very effectively. This, coupled with dynamic ads being linked to tagged product posts, are two of the things that I think now are really making Facebook and Instagram a worthwhile channel to invest on. Now, BigCommerce, Tribe Alpha, and Salsify are all here to help you advise on the best practices for your specific business. And there's a lot that we all just covered here. So we're all available at any point if you have any further follow-up questions, which Steve, I think we're ready to start to transition for. So thank you.
Great, yeah, thank you, SJ, and thank you, Jessica and Gary, for all that great information. We do have some time for questions, so let's get some answers to those. The first up is, what major themes or holiday trends are you seeing specifically to merchant tech stacks? SJ, would you like to take that one?
Yeah, happy to. So merchant tech stacks is a complicated question. And it really does depend on the type of business that you're in. It depends on your industry. It depends on your scale and your reach. I'd say in general, what we're seeing, not necessarily a holiday trend, but a major theme that's happening, and it's going to continue to happen, is the trend of being able to manage an omni-channel strategy. There are now a number of different types of ways that you can sell your products to consumers. There's your traditional retail channels. There's these marketplaces like social commerce channels, such as Facebook and Instagram. Amazon Seller Central, Walmart Marketplace, Target Plus, those are all marketplaces, a different type of distribution strategy. And of course, there's the direct to consumer channels by creating a website on BigCommerce and selling your products directly through a brand owned site experience. When it comes to an omni-channel strategy, I think that your tech stack really needs to be thinking about how you can have one system of truth for your entire product catalog. And that's really what we at Salsify are specializing in. Now, we're not the entire piece of the puzzle. We don't offer any sort of e-commerce platforms, and we do very little when it comes to actually fulfilling the delivery of the product. And I'd say that those two other pieces, as well as having a robust ad network, make up the majority of what I would consider to be the modern e-commerce tech stack. And again, when it comes to the e-commerce platform piece, that's really where a company like BigCommerce can really help you get that optimal experience of leveraging the data that's stored in Salsify. Jessica, I'll turn it over to you to add a little bit more detail there.
I mean, you summed that up great. I like to think obviously of BigCommerce as kind of the backbone. Obviously, it's like that lays the groundwork. You need an e-commerce platform to effectively sell on Facebook and Instagram. I mean, yes, you can just sell on that, but you have to be a really, really, really small business to do that effectively. Businesses of all sizes need the backbone of an e-com platform. The bigger and more complex you are, if you're selling a ton on social, something like Salsify is going to be awesome for you.
Great. We got another question in here. Can you tell us a bit about the differences between optimized one-page checkout versus traditional one-page checkout on BigCommerce?
Yes.
Jessica, that might be you. Yeah.
Yeah, I did actually, I answered this in the chat, but happy to talk through it a little bit more. So we do have something called optimized checkout that's built into BigCommerce. So this automatically not collapses, but puts all the checkout forms on one page. So that's the default, no matter what plan you're on. We also have a couple features that help reduce friction. So first is perpetual cart. So this means that customers can quickly toggle back and forth and access and edit items in their cart throughout the checkout process. So whether they're entering their payment details, their address, they have the option to edit their cart or also go back and add something. We also have some features built in that help simplify shipping address entry. So a customer's default country will be automatically selected based on their IP address. Also, the shipping method is pre-selected to streamline the checkout process. And then third, so if someone has checked out as a guest, there's a little option that pops up that's like, hey, would you like to create an account to make this faster for next time? So kind of like a built-in account creation right after the purchase has been made.
Very cool. All right, we've got another question here. What time of year should I start thinking about migrating e-com platforms? Gary, I'm going to give you this one.
All right. Sounds good. That is a great question with kind of a complex answer. There are definitely times of the year when you do want to change your technology and times when you don't, and a lot of it's based on your industry. If you are a seasonal industry and you have a higher number of orders at a particular time of year, you definitely want to avoid that time for your industry. And then especially around the holidays, it's probably not the best time to move because as with any site launch, there can be some glitches that come in once it actually goes live to the world. And there is a little bit of an SEO drop sometimes because if you're changing all of your content and the markup that Google is indexing, it can have a negative benefit for a short amount of time until the Google index catches up. So you definitely want to be careful if it's a period of high orders for your industry or your website. What I recommend is using Google Analytics or some analytics engine to look at the orders and traffic on your site and then identify the right time of year. If there are no lulls, valleys in your analytics, it's just going to come down to what works best, and then work with an SEO firm to make sure that the SEO is all dialed in before you launch.
Great, thanks. Another question here. How can I ensure performance and uptime leading into a busy season? Jessica, you want to take that one?
Yeah, for sure. So the first three things that come to mind immediately are uptime, site speed, and then also just general security practices. So for uptime, whether you already have an e-commerce platform or you're considering one, this basically means the time that your site is available for customers to take orders, so functioning properly. If you're considering an e-commerce platform, many companies, if it's SaaS and hosted, companies will have this directly on their website. They'll have, a percentage of uptime. And I think the vast majority of e-commerce platforms will say 99%. But what's a little misleading about that is if a company claims 99% uptime, that actually translates to 7.2 hours of downtime per month. So that might seem really high, but you definitely want to look for an e-com platform that's like 99.9998 or something, because that's going to be very, very minimal. This actually also was released in our platform performance report at BigCommerce. So we've had 100% performance uptime for 7 years straight during the holiday season. So little bit of a plug there. It's really, really important to go with an e-com platform that has great uptime. Now you can also test this. There are a couple free testers out there for both uptime and site speed. I know uptime.com actually has a free product that lets you do this. A paid plan will get you more features, but I've heard from a few merchants that use that. And then obviously for site speed, you can test this with uptime.com, a free tool, or you can actually hopefully just look at this on the back end. And this is ridiculous, but the average online shopper expects a page to load in 2 seconds. Used to be 4 seconds. A new study came out, now it's 2 seconds. So really important that your site is running and tested ahead of the holidays. And then the third thing I mentioned is just general security practices. So something as simple as scanning your site for viruses and malware daily. Just make sure that make sure that you're doing that, especially ahead of high volume.
Great, thanks, Jessica. We've got another question here. What % boosts are companies seeing when you implement Instagram checkout compared to redirecting users? SJ?
Yeah, that's a good question. It's a common question a lot of brands often ask. It's really impossible to do a true A/B test on the Instagram platform where you're splitting your product and directing half your audience to your own website and half of your audience to the checkout on Instagram experience. That being said, and again, it'll also range based on which type of company you are, but we've heard from brands saying that the difference is as high as a 30% increase in conversions. The difference really does lie in if you're directing somebody to a third-party site, how fast is that site, like Jessica was talking about? How quickly will it load? That's where you see the biggest drop off, is when you take a consumer from the Instagram site and then you're actually trying to get them onto that new web page. If the user's connection is bad, or if your website's not optimal for speed, that's where you'll see people just abandon it and either make the purchase somewhere else or not make it at all. But the range can also be more minimal if you do have a best-in-class website. So, expecting to see a 30% increase is reasonable, I think. And yes, it is generally, your overall conversion rates on Instagram, from what I have seen, have been usually always under 1%, somewhere between, 0.5 and 1% is usually more normal. If you're up near 2%, you're really doing great. If you're at 3%, you're out of this world. And so I also see that We wanted to see if you see an increase in cancellations in orders here. No, I haven't seen an increase in canceled orders from impulse purchases. There is that 30-minute buyer remorse period that the user has to cancel an order. If that does happen, and Gary, you might know this better than me, but I believe that you won't even see the order come into your system prior to that 30-minute window.
Yeah, that's actually correct. The Facebook system will send it to your e-commerce platform after that 30-minute customer cancellation.
Yeah, and I'll say this, I think that, Instagram and Facebook are investing heavily in transforming their site into a consumer-focused site, into a shopping site. And while checkout on Instagram is definitely a lot easier to complete a purchase, I do think it's got just enough tabs and buttons that have to be pressed to, kind of minimize any accidental purchases or an impulse purchase that's more of a, oops, I fat fingered the purchase button. So like I said, we haven't seen or heard from any brands complaining about an increase in cancellations. And so I don't expect that would be an issue, going forward.
Great, and this is probably another one for you, SJ. How much should a brand consider investing in boosting posts?
Yeah, another good question. Another one that it all depends. I, at a minimum, usually recommend that you're not going to be able to make any assessments on whether or not your campaigns are working without an ad budget of at least $5,000, maybe $2,500 for a campaign for a cycle. But you really need to be able to drive volume in order to see, like, is this working? Am I able to generate a positive ROI? So I usually like to tell brands, if you're going to get into this, plan on at least committing $5,000 over a course of 1 to 3 months. Ideally, I like to see $5,000 for 3 months. That gives you time to kind of test, gives you time to really make sure that it's not a temporal state that you're going through of just, maybe it's a period for a month where there's a sales promotion or something's down in the market. And after that time, you can usually start to understand, is this something that you want to continue investing in?
Great, and probably another one for you. How should a brand think about managing fulfillment of orders?
Yes, another good question. The majority of brands that I work with use Fulfilled by Amazon. Fulfilled by Amazon obviously is intended primarily for Amazon, but they also will do a multi-channel fulfillment is what they call it, where if somebody places an order on Walmart or on Facebook, Amazon, from their own Amazon warehouses where you've sent them your product, will take that package and deliver it to the consumer. Now, I'm not a huge fan of Fulfilled by Amazon, and apologies to any Amazon people that might be out there, for the simple reason because in March, when the pandemic hit, they shut down all non-essential categories from delivery. And so if you were a brand that they deemed non-essential, you couldn't get your products out to your consumers. That was a big liability. And so you're putting a lot of eggs into the Amazon basket by using FBA. I also don't recommend that brands try to do the fulfillment of individual orders themselves. Brands are focused on creating products. They're not a logistics and shipping company. And it's a complicated process, to really get your profitability of marketplace and direct-to-consumer selling up as much as possible. You need to make sure that your warehousing is keeping products as short a time period as possible and that you're shipping products out for the lowest cost possible. And the only way you're able to really do shipping at the lowest cost possible is if you have the scale that can justify the lowest types of fees. And if you have the technology that can make sure that your warehouses only have the bare minimum necessary so you can continue to deliver products to consumers in a timely manner, while also making sure that your inventory is available for consumers, you're talking about wanting to use what's called a third-party logistics company or a 3PL. Those are services like Deliver with 2 R's at the end. ShipStation is another one. And these are companies that specialize specifically in taking products, holding them for brands such as yourselves, and then delivering them out using logistics systems and the existing transportation networks of FedEx, UPS, and the US Mail Service. So I usually recommend that a company does some research on which 3PL would be best for them, depending on where they are serving, and then make a decision on investing and partnering with one of those 3PLs.
Great, thanks, SJ. I know, Jessica, you've been kind of busy away answering a couple of the questions behind the scenes. Is there any that you're seeing that you think the group would benefit from?
Yeah, this was from an anonymous attendee asking if it's better to prompt users to create an account during checkout or let them easily check out as guest users. I would say it's equally important. You definitely want to have guest checkout enabled. Obviously, for first time customers, that's extra important. And then obviously, if somebody creates an account, it lets them check out faster for next time. So if you have products that like tend to sell out really fast, like I know that I've created accounts with brands that have like drops that tend to sell out like in 10 to 15 minutes. So that's a huge incentive for me as a consumer to create an account. But yeah, I mean, it depends on your business. It depends on your inventory and your seasonality, but I would say they're equally important.
Good deal. Well, I think that is all the questions we've received. Thank you all for attending, and I hope you found this information was valuable, and hopefully you're able to take some of these new tactics away to try for yourself. If you'd like to work with BigCommerce, Salsify, or Tribe Alpha, please feel free to contact us on our website, and don't forget to mention that you heard about us and attended this webinar. We wish you all a safe and successful holiday season and a great rest of your day. Thank you so much, and goodbye.
Take care.